Do you feel that sweet breeze, gamers? That's right. It's the Channel F Hot Game Summer E3 Night Dose podcast, and I am your host, Funke Joseph, a featured contributor at fanbyte.com. I'm joined by a star-studded crew of Natalie Flores, a fellow featured contributor.
Hi. Yes, hi.
Hey. Imran Khan, our trusty news editor.
Trusted is a little far, but I'll take it.
And Elise Favis, our fantastic features and trending editor.
Hey, I'm the only one that was called fantastic.
Yes, you were. We also have our two legendary. We also have our two legendary producers, Renata Price and Paul Tamayo, on call. And on this special live recording, we'll be breaking down the day's latest game trailers and reveals while dishing out our hot takes. Squad, although it feels like it's been 1,000 years, it's actually the second night of E3. So I wanted to start us off with a little vibe check before we dive into anything. How are you all doing? What's up?
That's a loaded question.
I'm tired.
My first thought was I'm tired, but
yeah,
I'm good.
That's
a
good one.
This stuff is always fast-paced, that you feel pretty drained by the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like my first E3, so I'm also just like, how is all of this stuff happening at once and like 15 things in one day and like people are always on? It's pretty.
Well, that's the thing. It's like this is a weird E3 because it's like you get all the tiring parts with none of the fun, energizing parts. So like it's easy to feel very, very tired and overwhelmed at the end of the day. More so with this one when we're not actually physically doing that much than it is at like when we're actually at the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I remember I would just skip lunch most of the time because I was so busy.
Yeah.
Because my days would be filled with appointments back to back. And then at least by the end of the day you like go out for drinks or something with friends, but we don't have that
Did you eat lunch today, Elise? Is that what you're saying?
Thank you.
Yeah. So happy.
Hope you had some good pasta. Yeah, it's weird that we don't have that like decompressing time afterwards. Like, I don't know. It is a weird buzz, but E3's been pretty cool so far this year. I know that we had a few. I think this is the busiest day of like press conferences for this weekend. We had Square Enix, we had Xbox and Bethesda, future games, and PC gaming show as well. There was a lot. So I want to get us started off with Square Enix. I know it was later on in the day, but I know we have some Square Enix heads on this here call. So let's talk about it. First, we have Guardians of the Galaxy, everyone's favorite game, dropping October 26th. It's a new Marvel action game coming for PS4, PC, PS5, etc. This was one of the longest previews I have seen on something that I wasn't that interested in. But it does look more fun than Avengers. I wanted to get your thoughts on just, I guess, this part of the show.
Like you say, like everyone's favorite game, but like this I think looked fine. Like I think this look as they showed this game, I'm like, all right, this looked like you said. It does not look Avengers bad. I look at this and be like, this is a game I want to play, especially when they got to the conversation part, because it's like this is Eidos Montreal, the studio that made the Deus Ex or the most recent Deus Ex games. So it's cool that they're wrapping that stuff into this new project. Because it feels like, this aspires to be something a bit more than Avengers was, especially since this is not a multiplayer game. This is a single player game only. You are only playing as Peter Quill, which is it's in its own way a little disappointing, but at least it's more focused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of wish you could play as the other characters, but I think you can it seemed like we could use some of their abilities and call on them to like do special attacks or something, which does look fun. And those environments like that, those yellow like mushrooms, like just separated in that whole space planet. That was a very fun scape to look at.
I saw a lot of comparisons to. Oh, go on, Ellie.
I was just gonna say the environments looked good, but I wasn't like immediately impressed or anything. It seemed like a strange. Well, I guess it's a big license to have for Square Enix, so I guess that's why they used it as the start of the show. But it also felt almost out of place for Square Enix. Like, this is not exactly what their audience looks for. So I was sort of surprised to see it especially as the beginning for the show.
I was actually going to ask for your thoughts, Elise, because I saw a lot of people sort of getting Mass Effect 2 vibes, and I know Mass Effect 2 is your favorite. Like, would you agree with that? Like, sort of what we saw today?
Not really, honestly. I mean, I see the similarities. I didn't think that when I watched it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, you have your crew with you and you're interacting with them, and then obviously it takes place in space. But I feel like, yeah, that the similarities kind of end there for me.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Well, it's also a shooter that like you're not controlling your entire team, you're controlling the one human person and invoking your team for special moves.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, it did have
I
some
guess
interesting
so.
dialogue stuff where you could either sell Groot or sell Rocket Raccoon. That was I couldn't hear the audio for that part, but I was like, what is going on? Like what is that? But I think they're trying to get more of like a narrative focused thing, like a choice-based adventure into this as well, which could be very fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know my reaction to it live, you could see that in the stream that we did reacting to it live. I'm sure my reactions will speak for themselves. But really, like, my disinterest in this lies entirely with the fact that I hate Guardians of the Galaxy, and not because, like, I don't think this is, like, in and of itself impressive or, like, immediately sort of a turn-off. As far as I can gather, like, it seems more of the stuff that people liked from Avengers, right? Which was a solo campaign. And I think if they do that well, like if they replicate that sort of experience well, it could, you know, resonate. But for me, it was kind of like, just because, like, I don't really care for Guardians of the Galaxy. But I'm glad that they're not making it multiplayer or anything, that it's still a single player experience. And I think that there's potential there. I just won't play it to find out that potential.
It's so weird that, like, Square Enix has these video game licenses for what are, like, fairly big comic books, and, like, there are movies as well, but they could do anything with them. And what they do is they make the not MCU, like the off-brand MCU versions of all these characters and all these worlds and all that stuff. It's like, you didn't have to just straight up copy James Gunn's interpretation of Guardians of the Galaxy. There were other interpretations you could have used. And the answer was, like, well, we could have, but we want to make money off people who don't recognize the movie. People who recognize the movie go out like, that's not Drax, that's not Peter Quill. These are different characters from what I know. So I don't understand why they keep doing this exact thing.
I hear that. And it could have been cool to see them do something like a completely different character design and maybe have the movie tie-ins or similar outfits like Miles Morales does in the Spider-Man games, where they pull in other comic books and like other like TV show costumes that they can wear. But yeah, it does seem like exactly the vibe as the movies. Slightly taller or shorter characters, but yeah, very similar.
Someone in chat is asking, is it coming to Steam or mobile?
It's coming for PC. I don't know about mobile at all, though. They didn't mention that.
Yeah.
I will say, graphically, it doesn't look great. Like, when they showed the systems at the end, I was like, I'm surprised there isn't a Switch version, because this feels like it was made with a Switch version in mind, like just based on the way it looks.
Yeah, it's going for like last gen as well, so I understand why it isn't the most like graphically amazing thing. But yeah, it's weird that it's not on Switch when it's on so many other consoles. I want to get us moving into something that is not Guardians of the Galaxy, but Final Fantasy, a series that has been going on for such a long time. And they just announced the Pixel Remaster series, and they're going to be remastering a bunch of the old ones. This was one of the shortest reveals out there. But the first 6, it was like 30 seconds, like straight up. But the first 6 games are going to be remastered and coming soon for Steam and mobile. And as you all know, I am notably 5 years old and have never played these games, but I still respect what they've done to influence RPGs and game development in general. I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are on this, especially Imran, because I know this has you feeling some type of way. Yeah.
So I've been hearing about this thing for a long time, and like, the first time I ever heard about this like series was when it was supposed to be made for like a Square Enix subscription service that never ended up existing. So now they're just releasing them into the ether, and selling them piecemeal, which is such an insane idea to me as opposed to one collection. But sure. But like this should, in theory, be cool. I don't understand why they spent so little time. They didn't even show any of it. They didn't show any footage. The only way we got to see the new sprites is by like them kind of in the trailer reel a little bit, like individually. Like to pull off this for like to wide angle lens the whole show for a little bit. It really feels like Square Enix the West was like trying to spite Square Enix Japan a little bit, because this whole show felt like they were going, oh no, don't worry about that stuff. You want to focus on like the Eidos Montreal and like the Avengers and all that, because those are the longest trailers. And this, like, I wish this was longer than 30 seconds, because this is something I really want to see. And more importantly, I also want this on Switch. I do understand why it's only PC and mobile.
I was going to say that I feel like I don't remember if this announcement came out right after Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was very telling for the showcase to spend almost half of its runtime on Guardians of the Galaxy and just Marvel in general, and just Western Square IPs, followed by maybe like 15-20 seconds of the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster. And I think that really encapsulates the show overall, which is like there is this shift in, and I think they didn't prioritize the right things. I think they misread the audience, and by putting Guardians of the Galaxy up in the front, doing like 20 minutes of that, and then giving us like maybe 15 seconds of something that a lot of people are going to be really into, and not even showing any gameplay whatsoever. I think it's just a massive misreading of what people come to Square Enix for. And sure, like Square Enix is growing out to do all these Western IPs, like Life is Strange is, you know, we're going to talk about that, and that's a great series for them, but it just feels like a miscalculation on their part.
Yeah, at least, do you have any feelings on this one? You gonna check this out or nah?
I mean, I'm not a big Final Fantasy person, so no. But I agree with what Natalie. I know, Natalie. But I agree with what Natalie is saying. It feels like a weird misread of the audience. But okay.
Yeah. Also, yeah. I've played only like a bit of Final Fantasy, but as I said, didn't touch the first ones. So I kind of wanted them to do more to like pull me in as someone who's like played a lot of 7, like the remake. Like what about these games is going to pull me back into the series and want to check out like these earlier editions? Because I know it's not going to be like the crazy graphics or like the amazing whatever effects that they're putting in. It's different things, but I don't. From this 30 seconds, I don't know what that is. I'd have to do my own outside research, and for a press conference where like you're trying to get people interested in these things, it does seem like a very little amount of time to spend on like one of their most popular series.
Yeah, like, are they relocalizing these? Like, the footage they showed, like, briefly, like, coming off screen was, like, widescreen, but, like, did they redo everything? Or, like, they're going to be different? Is the entire thing going to be widescreen? Are there options? Like, all they said was coming soon. And, like, I left that with more questions than I came in with, honestly.
Yeah, like right before we started going live, we were talking about how maybe like the most popular version of each one would be the one ported, and it's like we don't know. Like the fact that we don't know and that we're here guessing and talking about it before the call instead of like having that information for us to talk about is just a really bad move on their part. It's disappointing.
Well, let's talk about something that might be a bit. Well, it seemed disappointing to a couple of people on this call, but Babylon's Fall. This game, Imran and Natalie, I know that you guys had some feelings about this. So, do you all want to explain what this game is and what you thought it was as well?
Herman, you should go first because I don't think I'll be very. Yeah.
So the game was announced in 2018 at Square Enix E3, and it was announced just our concept art and saying, hey, Platinum Games is working on a new game for us. That was shortly after, about a year after Nier Automata came out. So like people were thinking, oh, Platinum Games and Square Enix again, this should be something good. It was announced for a 2019 release date. Obviously, did not make that 2019 release date. Let's get a little bit into how the sausage is made here. So
let's talk about it. Let's go.
when we're prepping news for these sort of things, a lot of what happens is I go out and talk to sources and I try to figure out like what's going to happen here. And no one source you talk to is going to have all the information you're supposed to have because different parts of the company work with different things. So there might be someone who knows about Babylon's Fall but doesn't know about what that game is up to recently, or knows about Final Fantasy Origin, which we reported on apparently correctly, and like doesn't know about Final Fantasy 6 or 1 through 6 pixel art remasters or whatever. So you talk to more people and you try to get different answers. The things I was told about Babylon's Fall before this showcase were very, very exciting. They were extremely interesting. They were not at all what was shown in this showcase, which either means they're hiding it, which they would not do for any good reason, or that's just not the case anymore. So like that kind of builds up expectations of things that like when you see stuff like this, I was not under any impression that it was going to be a weird fantasy anthem that also looked like a compressed YouTube video. And yet that's kind of what we got. And I went like Platinum Games has a thing they do very well. It's almost never been multiplayer cooperative gameplay. That's what I think they've dabbled in here and there. I don't understand why suddenly that's what this thing has become. And there was a trailer for this game in the December 2019 State of Play that looked very different. It did not have this weird art style. It did not have multiplayer co-op. It looked like a normal character action game that looked like it almost kind of had some hooks into another series that Square Enix publishes. And what we saw today, about a year and a half after we saw that last trailer, looks like they at one point just completely pivoted direction in a way that probably assumes this game was in development hell and they had to reboot it for some reason. And I liked what that game looked like before, and I liked what I heard about it before. And that might be on me for being disappointed now, but boy, this game is not at all what I was hoping for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Natalie, what did you feel?
I felt the same. Emran and I had talked about the things that we were expecting, and those didn't come to fruition. I think it's very telling that if you go to the Square Enix YouTube channel, or basically almost every upload of this trailer that I saw, besides the IGN one, which was a bit more balanced, the like to dislike ratio on those videos is very
they ratioed them.
There's many more dislikes than likes, and it's just it's really understandable. This was a big miss. Sure, like part of that is maybe on us for, the things that we hear are not necessarily what the public hears all the time or is aware about, and maybe we could put the blame on ourselves for expecting certain things. But the fact that this didn't resonate and that it has those dislike to like ratios on YouTube and garnered all the comments that it did, negative comments mostly, from the public, just says that it really didn't resonate, regardless of whether you had heard different things about what this was going to be and raise your expectations and had to adjust them on the fly, or if this was just like your first introduction to this. Again, it's like I wonder why they are still insisting on something like this. I think they're still looking for their own like Monster Hunter World kind of success with multiplayer.
Yes.
And after seeing Anthem and how that turned out, and seeing how Avengers turned out, it is absolutely mind-boggling to me that they are still trying to make this work. I know that corporations don't work this way of like, be satisfied with what you have, but you have Final Fantasy XIV, right? Like, you have this game that is a live service that will keep selling on and on. Like, you don't have to worry about that, really. And like I said, I get that it's not in a corporation's interest and nature to be like, well, we have this good thing going on, let's just be satisfied with that, and then pivot to other things. Ultimately, the corporation just wants to win more money. But I'm just, it's not something that you can replicate. Final Fantasy XIV is the games as a service sort of redemption story, but it's not something that you or Square Enix even manifested on their own entirely. It was just like a different factors that played into it. And you're not going to have Naoki Yoshida directing everything or producing everything that seems like it's in development trouble.
Mm-hmm. So Final Fantasy 14 like struck gold, and you think they're trying to emulate that formula again with this game?
Yeah, I feel like they're just still trying to make the game's live game as a service work, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
it didn't work with Avengers. You're trying to replicate what Anthem did, but like do it successfully. That's really hard to do in this day and age. I feel like
Mhm.
I don't know, like it's just I think they're just really misprioritizing things, and I have no idea why they're still trying to make this work. I don't see this really hitting well with the core Square Enix audience. I'm happy to be
Yeah.
proven wrong,
Mhm.
but I don't see that happening. And if so, this is just another waste of development time, resources, energy into something that's ultimately not really gonna pan out. So I mean, I could
Interesting.
be pleasantly surprised. I might be wrong, and in like a few years, you could get this clip and be like, Natalie, you were wrong, and I'll be like, okay, fine, I admit it, fine. But
Yeah, I don't think
I
this is going to be one of those games that like everyone is like, "Oh wow, the haters eat crow." Like, no, this at times looks like a PS3 game. Honestly, like it does not look great.
Yeah, it does not
yeah,
present well. But one thing that I feel like is at least worth pointing out with Platinum is their games play like the combat always feels really punchy and good. So like
Mhm.
that might be the case here too, where it's just like it presents badly, but at least when you play it, it feels good. I don't know, but just thinking to my own experiences with Platinum games, like that's at least a takeaway I usually have.
So I
Yeah.
really like Platinum games, and one thing I noticed with this game, because it's a co-op action game, means that enemies don't react when you hit them because they can't react because otherwise, like 4 people beating up on an enemy is going to stun lock them. So like you're immediately changing the fundamental aspect of a lot of what these games feel like by adding
Mhm.
in latency and what you kind of have to do for a multiplayer game. So like I don't know, saying what I'm saying is I hope Platinum has figured it out, but I don't think it's going to be like let's just put a Platinum game online because that's not as easy as just doing that.
Mhm. Yeah, I had no expectations at all for this. So when I saw it, yeah, it didn't look as graphically impressive, but I really dig the aesthetics of this thing. Like I'm so into the medieval times shit, and I think they're doing this well. The enemy designs are very cool. It reminded me a bit of Demon Souls. But yeah, hearing what y'all are saying, that is a bit disappointing that it kind of pivoted from its original point of view. But I don't know. Maybe it does still feel good, as Elise was saying, because Platinum Games knows how to do combat. So hopefully that a bit of that carries on into this game in some form or another.
I like the design that I saw. There's like this dress, and there's a longer developer interview that's available on YouTube, and the designer of the costumes and I think maybe some of the monsters, he had confirmed that he had worked on series mostly in film, like the Fantastic Beasts, Harry Potter, transphobic offer thing, um, and like other cool series or whatever. So I think that's interesting that they got someone mostly like involved in film to do the like designs for this. But yeah, that's kind of all I got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the designs are super strange. You know what else is strange? Life.
Life.
True colors and remastered. Folks, we're getting a new Life is Strange game, which is so exciting. It drops on September 10th and stars an empath named Alex Chen, who uses her superpower of hashtag sensing vibes to solve a small town mystery. This game looks very sick, and I've been a diehard Life is Strange fan for some time now. You already know Mandem got the Rachel, Amber, and Chloe Price
I have
exclusive
those
figurine.
too.
I got
have
them
these
in the back
exact
too.
figures.
Yes,
Wait,
sir.
like here in the back, wait, that's like
Next to
Rachel
Morgana there?
Morgana. Yeah.
No, that's so sick. How are y'all feeling about this game?
So I thought this was the only good part about the conference. I saw some people saying that we shouldn't have had such a long look at True Colors this time around.
What?
And I guess I can see like what they mean, but I would disagree. I think this game just keeps looking really enticing. I think this is Deck Nine Games' first proper take at a mainline Life is Strange, their own unique characters, their own setting, and I think that is, even if you were turned off by Before the Storm like I was, Elise like loves it, so like she can offer a different perspective. But for me, I consider it my least favorite of the series, and even so, I would say anyone like to anyone that's hesitant over that, I would say that there is still reason to look forward to this and to at least like be curious and be excited, because again, like this is their original work. They're not like trying to uh, stay faithful to characters already written by another team. And so, at least for me, that's really exciting. I loved the additional sort of insight into Alex and her empathy, because I think that is, I can't imagine that was easy to sort of communicate in terms of gameplay and like a choice-based narrative.
Yeah.
Rebecca Valentine over at IGN, she did a wonderful interview with the developers on like empathy as like a storytelling mechanic and how they're implementing that. So I recommend reading that. But yeah, like for me, this was the one good part of the conference, just because I same Life is Strange fan, huge fan. I know people working on it and they're so excited about it. I can see why the excitement is palpable. I really look forward to playing it. As for the remasters, I can't help but think that there's not much point to them, because I don't know, I
Yeah.
felt like Life is Strange one, and just Life is Strange in general as a series has a very particular style that garnered it attention when the first episode came out. And I think the remasters don't take away that style or eliminate it, but they, like the HD
They
remaster
they
doesn't
don't
really
really add
do much
anything
for
to
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
exactly. And
look
so
exactly
like
the same.
they look exactly the same, and
Yeah.
so based on what I've talked to with people, it's like some people are wondering, oh, why isn't Life is Strange 2 included in this? It's not because Square Enix hates Life is Strange 2 or anything like that, or like is pretending it's the black sheep of Life is Strange. It's really just that that doesn't need a visual remaster because it's more recent. But I also don't think this really needs one either. Like as we're seeing
No.
right now, like
They just changed the
Rachel
color of
got
the
better
back seat.
Yeah.
eyeshadow. Yeah, Rachel got better eyeshadow. That's kind of it.
It
So,
pretty much looks
yeah,
exactly the same. So.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like even with the wipe, I'm not like, oh, that looks great and different. I'm like, oh, they changed the lighting a little bit.
They
Cool.
changed the color of
Yeah.
the earring.
It's-
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um.
It's a weird
And the eyes look a
series
little
to
sharper. That's kind of
remaster
it.
already, but
Hmm. Natalie, I hear what you say about Before the Storm, and how you kind of bounced off of that. But yeah, I feel like I felt the same way. I finished it and everything, but it didn't feel like the other ones because there was no powers. Like your power was shouting. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I like shouting at people this much. Like Life is
When
Strange
you're
1 was
a
very
white
cool.
girl, it's
Yes.
absolutely a power, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Life is Strange 1 brought in this crazy power of like go back in time, and I really loved how that meshed with like telling a narrative story, because you could make these like life-changing like choices and then go back and be like, actually I don't want to do that, let's do something else.
I guess,
but yeah, at least
I guess
you enjoyed that game. What
I
do you
did,
think about
yeah.
this one?
Well, I just want to say, like, I think I'm the opposite with what you just said, because I really like when Life is Strange is the most grounded, when it's actually not relating to powers at all. And I think that's why I liked Before the Storm a lot. It just felt more real and grounded that way. And I thought that the character writing was especially good. And I think Deck Nine just did a really good job at bringing those characters to life. I think Chloe and just like her kind of navigating through her grief. Natalie, are you? What are you doing?
I'm modeling for the chat because they're like, oh, small water bottle. And so I'm like, yeah.
You distracted me. But yeah, like Chloe navigating her grief, like that was done really well. I thought the relationship between Chloe and Rachel was done really well. It was a good story. I enjoyed it, so I'm very excited to see Deck Nine continuing with Life is Strange. The one thing that I don't know if worried is the right word, but maybe a little bit like apprehensive about is I think like it's a really interesting idea to have like empathy as your power, but I feel like that could also very easily, I don't know, be either overdone or come across kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
So then again, part of the
that's
charm
my
of Life
concern.
is Strange is the cheesiness. I would say
It's
there
corny
are
as hell.
there's undeniable
It is
cheesiness,
corny.
a little bit.
But there's still a fine balance there. Like it's able to do
That's
that
true.
corniness, but still feel like
Yeah.
good and real because it kind of like it has those really solid characters. So it
Yeah.
it depends, right? Is this new protagonist going to be just
Hold up.
resonate with us as much as before?
What's
Is
up,
the
Imran?
cops are the cops' vibes blue?
Yep.
What?
You know what he's thinking.
Oh no,
Life is-
vibes matter.
Stop.
Someone in the fanbite in the chat, please.
Life is Strange games are famously about being nosy as hell, and like sifting through personal digital environments. But this one feels particularly, I don't know, invasive. Like she can literally read people's minds. What do y'all think about this power in general? Like, do you think it will be good, or I don't know. I'm hesitant to kind of fully fall into it.
I think it was hard for me to imagine it in the moment to moment in terms of like functioning as a mechanic, but I felt like that interview that Rebecca Valentine at IGN did today gave me a lot more insight on it, which is maybe something that they could have done better about like showing how that functions in terms of gameplay. But essentially it seems to be that it's not just that she's feeling people's emotions. I mean, like, oh, I sense you, like whatever. Like she's also she's taking in those emotions. So like during the trailer they did communicate that, for example, like one character that is very angry over the death of Alex's brother, like she can sort of take that anger, but there's also the dilemma of like in this scene right here, there's a dilemma of like how poisonous that anger is for her and how it manifests in her, and how can she balance taking in all of these emotions from other people while also like trying to use her powers to actually help others. And I think that's going to be interesting, and I don't think before today I had a good grasp of like what they intend to do, but again, I think that interview was really well done, as all of Rebecca's things.
That's probably the most interesting part to me about the empathy power is how does it affect Alex? Like, you know, because it's not just about, I think what it's going to be really interesting to see how it balances all that of her trying to understand the people around her, but through that also understanding more about herself is, I think, how they could pull that off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how she interacts with those emotions.
Right.
True, yeah. Imran,
do you have any thoughts?
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to play it. I like you guys. Elise mentioned how she was into Deck Nine's previous game, and like I thought that game was good too. But I liked Life is Strange 2 a lot. So for I've completely spaced on the name of the developer, but for them to Don't Nod, yes. For like I would have liked a new Life is Strange from Don't Nod. I am interested to see how Deck Nine takes this and like where they take it, but the trailers so far have been like, I don't know, it's sort of like they keep emphasizing the same thing. It's like she's an empath, she understands emotions. That's the thrust of the story. I'm like, okay, I can kind of get where you're going with that, like why you see that as a storytelling device, but it's going to depend a lot on like how, if it is literally just like Incredible Hulk style wandering from town to town, and by town to town I mean person to person, solving their problems, that's going to be a little boring for me, but I want to see what they actually do with the overarching story with it.
Right. I think they've had to develop what do you mean by an empath, because like I feel like a lot of people like looked at this game and like when it was first introduced and they're like, oh my god, me too, I'm such an empath, just like Alex. And it's like I mean, I have thoughts about like labeling yourself as an empath, but like ultimately this isn't just like her being able to understand why people feel the way they feel. It's like her literally taking in those emotions and them affecting her like they would affect the other person, or like at least in a similar way. So I think they've had to sort of communicate a bit better about what they mean by an empath and like how that functions mechanically in a video game. But I think they've, at least today, I felt like they, with the interview and with the trailer combination, I think they did a good job of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the game drops on September 10th, so they still have a bunch of time to, I guess, let us know what that's going to be, or yeah, do another trailer or something. Yeah, and I back to the remastered, which are also available with the True Colors, I think Ultimate Edition or something. Yeah, I don't know if those are necessary, but I'm always hyped to have more people play those games if they've never experienced them, because I do think they're really, really cool storytelling games, like graphic adventure. They tell some cool stories about people that don't really get like these kind of airtime in games. So I'm very excited that that will be available for a wider audience. Any final Life is Strange thoughts before we move it on?
I don't think
good.
this time like this game needs that much advertisement. Honestly, I feel like I saw everything I needed to see about this game in the first trailer. After that, they didn't really need to sell it on me anymore. I'm just curious, like how the final game is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might be sort of erring on the side of caution, because I think there is some convincing that they need to do in terms of like Deck Nine is writing and developing this, not Don't Nod. So I can.
I think it is
see
more
why.
about Life is Strange 2. Because like Life is Strange 2, as much as that was a really good game, I don't think Square Enix is super happy about the sales of that game. Especially because they intended it for it to take 6 months, and it took a year and a half or something. So like I think they're trying to get those lapsed fans, especially like there are fans who just checked out immediately on that game because it did not star teenage girls. So I think there are people who, like Square Enix, is trying to say, "Hey, we brought back what you liked about Life is Strange."
It's like, it's because like, and again, another interview that Rebecca did with the developers, like a quick article that she did based off that interview, that came out today, is about how diversity and inclusivity really is sort of the foundation of Life is Strange, and that was something that I talked about with Christian Devine, which was the lead writer on Life is Strange 1 and 2. When Life is Strange 2 first came out, I spoke with him in an interview for Paste Magazine. And it's just disappointing that like people looked at two Latino brown boys and were like, oh, they're not white girls, so like we're not interested. So hopefully this best of both worlds, you know, you've got Alex Chen, you've got an Asian American bisexual woman. Hopefully that, you know, will work and, you know, sell well. I think Life is Strange 2 just really suffered because it functions like a road trip, while Life is Strange 1 really returns to a lot of the areas that you see in other episodes. So essentially the team was making 5 different games back to back, like one after the other. That's the impression that I got when I talked to the director, the co-director, Michelle Koch. And so he said like, yeah, it was, I understand why people were upset with the wait, but we also essentially had to make 5 different games because they all take place in different settings, right? So
and they don't go back to those environments as well because they're on the run.
Yeah, and so that took a really long time to develop, and people were just not kept in the loop about it. So a lot of people were like, yeah, I'll just play until all of them come out, and then other games come out. So it's unfortunate, but yeah.
I'm glad this is not episodic. I think that could maybe also
this is
work
because
in
of
its favor.
that. This is directly a move because of that, I would say. Because they saw the sales to Life is Strange 2, realized that episodic might not be the way to go. I think they knew they had a good game on their hands, but ultimately that is really what affected sales. And so I think Tell Me Why, also created by Don't Nod, and I think these are direct responses to that so that they can avoid having that happen.
Absolutely.
It's such a shame about those sales because one, the story is so deep for the Life is Strange 2. And also I just really dig episodic things. Like I love getting one and being like, oh shit, like what's going to happen next time? Like I got to wait a week or two. And then I get to know. That's really exciting. And like with the streaming age, I feel like so much of that is lost because everything is dropping in like mini series where it's like 12 episodes and it's all there at once, and you kind of have to binge content. But I really do miss that kind of spacing out and waiting. But yeah, I mean, this game still looks awesome, and I'm still gonna play it. So yeah, September 10th.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Folks, if you would believe it, there was another Final Fantasy game shown at this Square Enix conference. Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise, which I really like that name. It's fun. Imran, I know you broke this story back in May about the upcoming FF action RPG. Do you want to tell us a bit about it and its button-up t-shirt wearing protagonist?
So, I mean, basically what we said in the story, what we reported originally is correct. It is a Team Ninja made action game based in the Final Fantasy 1 world. That's more or less where it ends, though, because I did not expect how this game looked and played. It is somewhat Neo-like in that it is a slower paced action game, apparently. I would love to report more on the gameplay, but there was supposed to be a demo today that just straight up just didn't work. It just didn't fucking work. And like, how do you do that?
Very
How did
ashamed
it
for
work?
Babylon's Fall.
Yeah, like how? But yeah, so this game is a game that takes place in Final Fantasy 1's world, and at the end they talk about like, oh, cool, it's Garland. Garland's gonna be like the villain, and they say chaos like 17 times in a row. Like each sentence contained the word chaos, and
I'm
then
gonna kill chaos.
like
People started
like,
naming in the
it's like
chat
Go.
when we started the segment about chaos.
like they show the main protagonist whose name is Jack, and his two friends, who I shit you not, are named Jed and Ash, and they're like, Jack is just a dude. Like, I assume it's supposed to be like an isekai kind of thing, where Jack is a normal guy who, for some reason, is now in the Final Fantasy 1 world. But like, they couldn't have gotten him like a better costume than a Henley. Like, he straight up looks like in every like PS3 open world game, like that character that they're like, we really think our main protagonist will speak to the audience with his interesting design and his voice by Nolan North. And like, Jack is not at all interesting, even a little. So when you see him clash with Garland, it's just like really weird thing of Garland, who has this like over-designed armor, like fighting this dude in like what he might wear to his friend's barbecue. And I don't understand like what this demo or what this like, they called it a bold new vision for Final Fantasy in their tagline. I don't really get what their bold new vision is. Like, what is this game supposed to be?
Like, fuck, what's the name of the protagonist in Final Fantasy 16? Is that the bold new version where we just got like protagonists with like really white names? Like, they couldn't even make him Jacques. It's Jack.
Jack.
Like,
Jack,
you could have just done
Jed, and
Jacques.
Ash.
Yeah, and
Jack.
Ash like with an E at the end, like Final Fantasy 12's Ash. Like,
Yeah, they couldn't even do that. It is Ash like Ash Ketchum.
Yeah, I like the guy. Is Ash the one that looks like Cloud with pink hair? That dude's
Yes.
pretty cool. Nice.
Which, speaking of, this game is a PS4, PS5 game. It does not
Okay.
look as good as like most PS4 games, I'd say. Like, these character models look like a decent bit below FF7 Remake, the PS4 version.
Yeah, this could be like PS3 when I look at it.
Like, I wouldn't
what is
like
with
in
the
action.
Square
I wouldn't think they'd go
Enix
that far,
look
but
like
yeah.
that at this conference? Like, just like Square
Yeah, I don't
Enix
know.
is known for, at once it was like a lot of the reason why people came to Square Enix, right? Like cutting edge, like visuals and whatnot. And it's like, well, and then you show up to the C3 conference with two PS3 looking games. And
Like, did they spend all their money on FF7 Remake? Is that what happened? Like, is Square just not prepared to have a two parallel Final Fantasy series running? They're like, oh shit, we ran out of money. What are we gonna do? Take all of it out of Babylon's Fall and Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise, and Funky, I know you like that name. It's the dumbest name. It's such a dumb name. I can't. Like, Stranger in Paradise, I can buy, but like Stranger of Paradise, what? What are
Someone
you
said
talking
it.
about?
Someone in chat said it sounded like a reality TV show, and that's true. But that's why it is good.
Oh, Funke, you're the best of us. True.
They should call it Final Fantasy Origin Chaos.
Ooh, yeah. I know they say Chaos, too much.
Chronicles.
Chaos Chronicles. That sounds like a real game. I know they say Chaos too much, but I really love that intro. Like it just starts as like him being like in a gruff voice, "I'm gonna kill Chaos," and then he starts slashing shit. That is very cool. You can't go wrong with saying that line at the start. But yeah, it doesn't look that visually appealing at all. Really, I do like, as I said before, I'm a sucker for castles and shit, and there are castles and shit in this game. But yeah, the combat also, I don't know. I didn't really see anything connecting in a way that was like super satisfying. But I mean, hopefully it shapes up soon.
I mean, I'd love to tell you how the gameplay goes, but they still haven't fixed the demo. It's been hours, and like, did they not know it doesn't work? Like,
what happens when you try to play it?
It won't
It's
finish the
corrupted,
download.
right?
Period. Yeah, their file's corrupted, and it just won't finish the download.
That's insane.
It's like,
oh my god.
Big
I guess also part of this is that E3's on a weekend, so like maybe
This
the
is a-
people who are just not like.
It's just publicly
It's like you should
available?
have this ready, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is months in the works. When you
That's
plan
weird.
for E3, it's like even this weird E3, like this is a weird E3, but like, you know, if you knew that you were gonna show it here, like you want to ensure that the demo that you advertise works.
And yeah,
It really
especially
feels
for
like
this
Square
digital
Enix
E3.
got ready for this E3 by like the same way I get ready for school when I sleep in late. Of just like I've just tossed whatever in my backpack. Hopefully, I hope these are the right papers. Let's just go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. This does seem very strange though. I kind of like how weird it is, but yeah, hopefully it cleans up soon because yeah, I want to see what it feels like and hopefully that demo gets up so we can do some sort of video or article on that soon. But yeah, that's strange because it's a digital E3 and you would think, especially since there's no booths and you can't have something heavily curated with like someone PR standing next to it, like anyone can download this, but now nobody can download it because there's an issue, and it kind of leaves people just sitting there like, what? Especially with this footage where you're like, oh my gosh, you're doing something very bizarre, but we can't really play it, and we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, Paul is saying First Bite in the chat, and like we had plans. We were like, oh yeah, let's gonna download this. We're gonna do a First Bite. It's gonna be so cool. Or right when this thing comes out, and like I sent you a message saying I'm downloading it. Let's get ready to go. Then a minute later, actually no, it doesn't work at all. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
That's a bummer.
it was quite surprising, but hey, we'll be on that First Bite as soon as it's possible. So stay tuned for that on the Fan Bite Chaos YouTube channel that we just started. Yeah, do we have anything else we wanted to mention from the Square Enix conference before we move on to the other ones for today?
I think
It's a bad
it's
time. Yeah.
It was a bad time?
Yeah. And it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not
Yeah,
the
it
worst
was,
presentation I've ever seen, but it's up there.
Yeah.
What could they have done to make this a better event, do you think?
An entirely different event.
They should have just not had it. Honestly, like
They
put
should have just
some
not
of the
had
stuff
it.
in State of Play.
They didn't need to. Sony was like,
I mean, yeah,
nah,
they
should have
didn't
been
have
like, nah.
to, right? They
Mhm.
could
Yeah.
have just announced some of these alone and not have had a conference.
That's
Especially following up after Microsoft and the conference they had. It's like,
I mean,
maybe
yeah.
you should have skipped out.
Yep, it's Microsoft time. Yeah, so Back for Blood, we're seeing footage of that right now on the Twitch stream, which if you're listening to this audio file, you can check this out live on Twitch, 9:30 p.m. EST for the next couple of nights. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about Back for Blood, but as a Left 4 Dead diehard, I'm still intensely excited for it. Today, they revealed some PvP stuff, which was pretty new, and it looks very similar to the asymmetrical multiplayer of Left 4 Dead, where players take control of the zombies. In this game, they're called Ridden, and fight against survivors. I know when this drops that I'll be diving into it. Are y'all interested in this at all? And if not, what could they do to pull you in?
So I have, according to Steam right now, I have 1,132 hours in Left 4 Dead 2. And all of that is because
Wow.
of the PvP mode. what I saw of the
Mm.
PvP mode today is extremely disappointing for me personally. And I think I told my friends about it, and they're also like, well, looks like we're not getting Back for Blood, because I didn't play this game for the main campaign. I played it because the PvP mode of survivors try to run to the end of a stage while other human characters playing, or human people playing zombies, were like trying to stop them. This is somewhat that idea, except the survivors don't go anywhere. It's now just a horde mode. And like, they expressed in that thing that it's like, oh, we wanted to get away from what Left 4 Dead did. And it's like, no, I liked what Left 4 Dead did. You don't need to get away from that. You need to actually just straight up copy it. Because
It
I want
worked.
Left 4 Dead, but with new graphics.
Yeah, Paul in
I
chat
think
is
that's
talking
what a
about
lot
the
of people
director
were
as well.
hoping for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I feel like they have kind of shown this footage on a couple of different conferences. At Xbox, they showed it, and also at the Warner Brothers one. And it's like we know what the game looks like. I kind of would, if anything, just like to play it a bit more. But I'm yeah pretty satisfied on everything around it. We know it's zombies and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my interest is peaked. I won't say anything or that it's anything more than that, but I'm willing to try it out. It has a card system that they haven't advertised too much in the trailers from what I've seen, but we'll see.
Yeah,
how
I'm
that pans
surprised
out.
they haven't advertised that as much, because from the alpha, like that was pretty fun to see like how that worked. Because Left 4 Dead doesn't have any card systems at all if you haven't played that game, and this one is introducing those as kind of like to spice up each run, which you couldn't really do to that degree for the main campaigns of Left 4 Dead. So I am interested to see like how much those affect that, and if those are like fun or annoying, because it could easily be annoying and it could easily be very fun.
I think they're at risk of overcomplicating it a little bit. Like, it doesn't. I don't think Left 4 Dead was simple because they like just couldn't crack the case, or they couldn't figure out how to make it more complicated. It was simple because they thought it should be better when it's simple. So like, I'm wary of adding things like a card system for the game, because like, does it?
Mhm.
You have to prove to me this game needs it more than prove to me Left 4 Dead didn't.
Because it's just such a blatant. I mean, it's made by a lot of the same creators, right? It's just such a blatant copy of it. So it's like we kind of need something to set it apart, and I wonder how the
it's a
card system will
spiritual
work out.
successor, I suppose. But
Yeah.
Yeah. But they also say at the
Isn't
top
the
of everything,
PvP
made by Left 4 Dead's creators.
Yeah.
mhm. Isn't the PvP
What do you
supposed
think?
to still kind of be like the versus mode in Left 4 Dead?
I was reading Colin's write-up of it, and he was saying that it's more horde mode than like running. So it's in
okay,
theory it's
yeah.
the same in that like it's zombies versus humans, but like
Yeah,
not the
right.
same in
Still
that
split
you're
that
moving
way.
places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
yeah, that's
but
a
Left 4 Dead 2 also had multiple multiplayer modes, so this could just be one of those. Hopefully it's not just horde mode, because yeah, Imran, running around and like having a human who's playing like a hunter just around a corner waiting for you with like just more of a distinct like I'm gonna get you player than the director is very fun. So
Yeah.
hopefully they can do that. And a lot of the zombie types in this game look cool and look like they're building off of all of the types from the original Left 4 Dead series. But yeah, it could get too complex, which I really hope it doesn't, because this type of game works so well for me. And we're going to be talking about another similar kind of 4-player shooting a bunch of people game later on in this, which I know we're all excited about. But yeah, I'm glad that there's going to be another game like this coming out soon that I can finally just play.
There's just
I mean, there
not a
was that
whole
game
lot of, like,
in like the Koch Media briefing that I forgot the name of, but Chet Falasek from Valve is writing it. So it like at least has the writing from Left 4 Dead. So that could be, also interesting. It feels like there's a bunch of Left 4 Dead spin-offs, like spiritual successors, just now existing that I'm not sure any of them are going to get quite exactly what I want.
Just what you want
At
to
I
least
do
what
feel
we
like
said.
there aren't.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I don't feel like there are a whole lot of co-op horror games. Whether they're shooters or not. So whenever like one does come around the corner, I'm just like, okay, I'm paying attention to that because that is absolutely my thing. So that's originally what got me interested in Back 4 Blood. Like A, because I like Left 4 Dead, and B, because just because of the genre. So just because there's not that much out there, I think that also entices me more towards it. So
Yeah. My friends were playing this game called GTFO, which seems to kind of scratch that itch. It is very different aesthetically, but it is a horror co-op shooter that I got to check out soon to like kind of tide me over.
yeah, I
'Cause
also had that
these
on
are
my
very fun.
radar.
Yeah. I really like. I played Left 4 Dead like a year ago when they did a little update, but a lot of the fun I had from these games, I'm realizing, is from the modding community, who kind of just like took that game and like took it apart and just added anything in the Steam Workshop to make it the most bizarre thing ever. So hopefully that they do the same kind of thing with Back 4 Blood and really open it up for people to be able to change what the zombies look like or what the protagonist looks like, because changing those things and also changing like sound effects made it a completely different game. Like when I played it, I played Fall Guys mod, and I was playing as Deadpool, and all the zombies were like Fall Guys, and it played like
oh my god.
it played random like video game music when I was like healing myself or stuff. But it was a very customizable experience. So hopefully that carries on, because I know a lot of people care about that.
Yeah. Also, this game is on Game Pass, so like even if it's not great, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, which we will see for a lot of the other games we're talking about today. But it seems like Game Pass is getting hitters upon hitters on launch for the next long time.
Super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I want us to move on to Starfield. We saw the first in-game teaser of that one. We got to see Starfield, the space Garfield simulator. It was amazing to see Garfield so crisply animated in spacesuit. The ray tracing on the fur was... One second, I'm getting a production note. The game was not about Garfield? Oh, okay. Oh, there are cool mechs in it, though. Okay, all right. That's
you back
awesome.
on board?
I'm for it. They've been teasing this game for a minute, and this trailer got leaked before the event, so it wasn't a huge surprise. But what did y'all think about this? Are you excited for this gray-yellow space adventure, which we haven't really seen too much about?
I love when something like this happens.
Sorry, I feel like this is kind of a theme with a lot of the things that Microsoft show, but it's difficult for me to know how I feel about this game, because all I saw was like, this is not a CG trailer, this is an in-game engine trailer, whatever, not gameplay. But all I know about this game is that it's in space and Bethesda's making it, so it probably plays a certain way. And I think that's cool, but also it doesn't really give me a good idea of, like, if I had seen what I expected to see of like a first-person Mass Effect style thing, or like a Fallout in space kind of thing, or whatever, I'd at least know what I'm looking at. But all I really know here is like, okay, it's in the reasonably, proportionally, relatively near future, and that's kind of
it. Yeah, there's not enough to go on. I mean, there was a story in the Washington Post about it, and it was like the big takeaway even there was the Washington Post, who also leaked it. Anyway,
did you like work there or something?
It's possible. I used to work there, and they just leaked an E3 opener. Yeah. So my former employer talked about Starfield, talked to Todd Howard, talked to Bethesda, and the big takeaway from even that piece was just, this is Skyrim in space. And I'm like, okay, that really doesn't tell me anything, like that's what we figured already. And the in-game trailer is essentially the same thing. It's like these slow pans of, a space, a rocket ship in a space, a space station, whatever. It doesn't tell me anything. But knowing Bethesda's track record, knowing Skyrim and stuff, I'm assuming that it's going to be interesting, at least to say the least. It's going to be ambitious from the sounds of it. But exactly how that pans out and exactly what that looks like, it's just so early to say anything.
Yeah.
I love when something like this happens because I have missed out on so many video game cultural juggernauts as a 5-year-old that like when I see everyone freaking out over Starfield and someone at WAPO, by complete accident, nobody really does that on purpose and severs that sort of connection on purpose. Because I saw like comments on Twitter, and it's like, no, it happens completely by accident, just an error.
Yeah, to be clear, that was a complete accident on their part.
Complete accident.
So that said, if Bethesda gives us trailers in the future, we're not going to leak anything, so you can trust us.
Bethesda, if you're watching, Todd, we got you. Please tap in, fanbite.com.
We do not write in the CMS, in fact.
I mean, I do, but I live dangerously. But Todd Howard doesn't like me anyway, because one time at a party, I was like, hey, we're the same height, and he just looked at me and just walked away.
Did you say that? Did you say that to him?
Yes,
because we're the same height. It's a good icebreaker, I think, or I thought that was the case.
Yeah, well, especially when you're looking eye to eye, how can you just turn around? That is, shocking. But Natalie, what were you saying? Sorry. But...
Yeah, but I love when this happens because, like, I have never played a single second of a Starfield game in my life, and I just love getting paid to write about video games and not knowing what the fuck they're about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially at E3 when there's, like, you realize there's 1 billion games and we've only played, like, such a fraction of it. Like, everyone has only played such a fraction of that. But, I mean, they're all here and they're all happening. But, yeah, I have a weird feeling about just games that kind of just had a title card a few years ago, but they're being teased like each year at E3. It's like, why didn't you just like not tell us and then tell us later? I don't know. Like I don't really like that. Sorry, yeah, Imran?
This game is weird in that like we now have we know more about when this game is out than we know about the game itself, really. Like they straight up said this game is coming out to the day 11 years after Skyrim on 11/11/22. That is I get maybe it's like a movie kind of thing where they know they'll be long done by that date, just a matter of releasing it. But it's very interesting that they've committed to that date and they have not committed to the release of their Halo Infinite yet.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But I mean, it looks good from what we've seen. But I would have loved to see some gameplay at all. Because, yeah, we know it's going to be a Bethesda type of game. But what does that look like in space? How are they changing their formula? That's what I'm particularly excited with. Because those games feel relatively samey. And I don't know. I'd like to see them really do something fresh for this.
In the meantime, you can go play The Outer Worlds, which is Fallout in space. And it's very good.
Yes,
that's also one of the interesting things. Like, Microsoft now owns Bethesda, and they own companies that also make Bethesda-style games. So now we just have like a bunch of Bethesda games in the same conference as Bethesda. Like, honestly, Avowed wasn't there this year, and I think one of the reasons Avowed wasn't there is because it would have just been overload on this exact same style of game.
Yeah. To be fair, like Bethesda's presence at this conference just made it so much better. Like I think that's what elevated it to like, oh shoot, this was really good because of Bethesda, all the games that they showed.
It made it better, but also it makes it so like Bethesda can't talk about anything that doesn't necessarily benefit Microsoft. So like we didn't get any updates on say Deathloop doesn't matter because they've seen that like 1,000 times in the last 6 months. But like Ghostwire Tokyo, we saw nothing about because it doesn't benefit Microsoft to talk about that game because it's Sony exclusive for like at least a year.
True. Yeah, this is the first time we've seen a Xbox Bethesda collab handshake conference, and yeah, it was pretty exciting. Like there was a lot of reveals here that I was like, oh, nice. This is a cool time, and yeah, the production in it was exciting, especially compared to some of the other conferences we have seen. Yeah, but right now we're looking at footage of Outer Worlds 2. And I really like the tone of this reveal. They didn't show like any gameplay, but they were pretty funny about not showing gameplay at all. I bounced off of the original, but Elise, I know you have some feelings on this. Do you want to tell us a bit about what you liked in the original game or things you'd like to see in the sequel?
I mean, part of it is just that Obsidian is hilarious, you know? And it really comes through in the Outer Worlds. Like the whole... It takes place in space, and corporations have this way too much reign over just how you even function as a human being. And it's just like joke after joke, and they do it really, really well. So I'm assuming that, you know, the second game, the sequel, will hopefully, you know, do those same kind of beats. The Outer Worlds also had really good DLC. I am forgetting the name. Gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the second one, but it's basically this like noir murder mystery, and it starts out in this hotel. It's really, really good and funny, and they're able to really balance. It's like they're able to like be serious, but also have a lot of comedy in there too. And anyway, this trailer was great. This trailer was so like, I mean, immediately I was as like, I think halfway through before the title thing came up, I was like, okay, this has got to be Obsidian, just because it was so self-aware and honest. I was just like, also just so silly in the way that they are so good at being. So yeah, no, it was hilarious, and I want more trailers like that.
I think it's interesting, and like this is not a big deal or anything. It's just an interesting observation that this game with like the first game was about like corporo-fascism and like corporations owning the world, and it was like that's the one thing when it's, you know, an indie game being sort of published by a Take-Two label. It's a totally other thing when it's a big part of a Microsoft conference. Like you literally work for one of the biggest companies in the world,
right?
And now you're.
I mean, that's new. That's different than the way it was before. So it wasn't like that before. So yeah, you're right. Like. Times have changed.
Elise, also the DLC you described sounds so different from the main game. How, like, are they? Do you think that they're going to do like some really different tonally stuff in this game as well?
I hope
like, kind of
so.
Like,
I mean,
okay, yeah.
I don't know, but I hope so. Yeah, I think that's what worked so well with the Outer Worlds was even going from planet to planet, they were very distinctly different in the main campaign itself, and there was just like the amount of different choices, different endings, different paths that you could take were pretty impressive.
If you're just listening to the audio, I'm sorry, yeah, Elise.
I was just gonna say that I love RPGs that have like so many different paths that you can take.
Very good job staying on the script, at least.
Yeah, if you're just listening to the audio portion of this podcast, Ren pulled up a photo of someone saying same height to another person, and I assume
so. It's
that
like
was
it's supposed to be like same hat, like
yes.
The character's like same hat. We're wearing the same hat, and Ren entered it the same height.
Yes, that was Imran and Todd Howard colorized.
LB made it. Okay.
Oh, nice, LB. Yes, thank you, LB. Very good stuff.
I guess one thing I wonder is if it's going to be the same crew or not. Like,
I love how she's like, okay, we're gonna keep going with this.
Hey, I'm being serious. I'm a serious gaming journalist.
It's that Game Informer training kicking in of like always like just stay on the message.
God, it's true. And also post, guys. It's not my fault.
We have to talk about this very serious video game. Guys, come on.
Very serious. No laughing. Allowed.
No laughing.
No. Now I actually lost the script. But yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, see, the difference, Elise, is that you went to go work for like a prestigious newspaper, and I went to go work for Loudmouths. So like we got entirely different directions. So now I'm just like, I don't know. Who cares what the plan is? Let's just say about whatever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, you can keep going with the script, Elise. Go on.
Do we have any more feelings on Outer Worlds? Oh, yes.
What was I going to say? I was talking about the crew, basically. And I hope that it's going to be the same crew. That's what I want. I want more Parvati. She's the best. I love her.
She was very cool from the start. I remember the little bit I played, I was like, that's a great companion.
Yeah.
Very cool character.
They need to add romances. I know I say that for like every game.
You could be her wing woman, which was really cute.
Yeah, no, I want to like date people in the next one. I know that I say that for like every game, but it just makes your games better. Just do it. If the option's there and you have really good characters, why not? But yeah, this trailer was really fucking funny. Like immediately, like Elise and I were like, "Oh my God, this is so funny." and it makes me want to play the Outer Worlds because I didn't. I totally missed that train. I probably won't, but it made me want to do it, and that's what counts.
Mm-hmm.
Sort
It
of.
is definitely great when games can make you do that, go back. Also, yeah, Natalie, what you're saying about certain things being added to any game and just working, that is good. Like dating simulator works. Fishing mini game also works. Put that in anything. I will take a side and just get the rod out and start sitting.
It really depends on fishing mini games. There's a hit and miss.
I hate
True.
fishing mini games.
What
There's
do
not a
you
single
think?
good
Okay.
one.
You
Name
are
me
lying
one
to yourself.
good fishing mini
Wow,
game.
that's too far in the other direction.
Big the
Why do you
Cat
hate
Sonic
fishing?
Adventure.
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley
Stardew
has the
Valley
best fishing mini game.
It makes me really anxious.
Well, that sounds like a Natalie problem.
Yeah.
That's like a personal problem. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk a bit about Redfall.
Oh, hell yeah.
Game of E3.
Yes,
Oh my God,
the
so
Total surprise.
this game immediately caught my attention because, as you can see on the screen if you're watching, you can play as a cool black girl who does magic and fights vampire cultists, and that is just sick as hell.
And this is a
game-
Latina queen. This girl
Let's
right
go!
here. Let's go.
We won.
So good, we
This
won.
game could be described as a Left 4 Dead like, but I don't really want to put it in that box because it is also open world co-op, and we haven't really seen any gameplay outside of that really, really cool trailer that you can see on screen. But yeah, it drops next summer, so we have to wait. I'll wait. But I don't know. This really got my attention. How do y'all feel about this?
I'm
Like, I
kind
was
of the
just
same.
watching-
Like, this is like a really cool movie. Like, this is a neat little short movie, but like, I think for a tone piece, I'm interested in this game's tone, but I don't like people just saying it's another Left 4 Dead. I'm like, okay, I can picture that, but I don't really know what this is beyond the fact that like the characters seem cool.
But they strike that tone really well, at least.
Yeah.
Like it seems that it seems like it's gonna be kind of funny too. Like there are just like little lines. I think at the end, one of the characters is like, "What if things go back to normal?"
Ellen.
And someone is like, no, then I'd have to pay off my student loans. So no.
Yeah,
thanks."
that's what Latina
like-
queen hates in here. Yeah,
It
for
seems
me-
funny.
Yeah. Oh,
It
sorry.
does.
Go on.
Go for it.
No, you
That's
go
all.
on.
That was my thought. It seems
Oh.
funny.
Oh, okay. So whenever I get really excited about a game, the first thing that I think is like, oh, please don't let me die before then. I don't want to die before Redfall comes out.
That's grim, Natalie. Holy
What are
shit.
you talking about? No way.
Listen, it could happen at any time, and I would prefer it not to happen until after this game comes out because I'm so excited for it. But I was talking.
So they're talking in the chat about like Funke having an "I'll wait for that" badge. Natalie Nate said, "I'll live for that." Like, I will stay alive for this game.
I do actually measure my life in those milestones. Like when I was little, it was like, oh, I need to live until next Saturday because that's when the next Wings Club episode is out. So like,
Oh,
Have you like had a
What
life?
the hell?
What kind
No.
of trauma have you gone through?
no,
What hap-
John in the
Who are
chat,
you?
my homie. Yes. But I was saying, okay, well, I wasn't saying, but I was gonna go on to say, I was talking about this with a friend, Nathan at Gearbox on Twitter, and I was talking about how like Imran said, this is a tone piece. Like this is just ultimately this is a CGI trailer. There's no gameplay shown, like you were saying, Funke.
Mhm.
It just exists to create hype, and so it's like I'm usually not about like falling for that because it's like I don't know what this game looks like in the moment to moment. I don't know if it's gonna get canned. I don't know if it's gonna happen. You know, anything can happen. Like we
Yeah.
were just talking. I just saw people talking about Beyond Good and Evil 2 like in these last few days and about that trailer and how that game might not happen. So that's always a worry that I have when I get too excited. But my friend was telling me like, you're not wrong, but also this is the closest to art that we as marketers get to make, and sometimes it works in different ways, right? Like if we create this tone piece, then it guides the rest of the development team for the next however many months, or maybe we got to flip it, like the development team is handling the tone and then we have to convey it in the trailer, and it's like, yeah, like Did that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that's
but-
really fascinating. Like I've never really thought about that, like the marketing PR side of if you make a trailer that is setting the tone, people that are working on the game are going to refer to that as well as like a grounding piece of what this media is. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And since that this is just like CG trailer and tone based, built to pretty much sell us on the world, the story, and the characters, like it very much succeeded in doing that for me, and it sounds like pretty much everyone else on this call. So yeah, hopefully the game lives up to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
don't get
just
me wrong.
excited.
I want
Comes
to
out-
see. I want to see what the gameplay looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this was a cool, like first look, but I still really have no idea outside of what's written out there that it's like an open world, you know. So I don't know. The open world part intrigues me. Like, is it going to be kind of like the Division sort of thing, or I don't know.
I would guess a Borderlands
that-
style thing, honestly.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
I was
But,
pointing out that it's by the team that made Prey, so I don't know. I never played that game, but I don't know.
Sure.
I think
Prey is
I
very
didn't play
good, and
Prey
I have no
either.
doubt this game is good. But like, I think, and I said this earlier, this is kind of a running thing for Microsoft in its conference is they rely so much on CG, and I think a lot of it is because of the backlash to Halo Infinite. Of like, they don't want to show something until they're 100% positive this is what this game looks like. We're not making like that many more changes to it. This is more or less locked. And I bet this game probably could be shown right now, and they just don't want to like take the risk. People go, why does that look like this? Why can't they make that look better?
Yeah, it's
So
been like
already,
one
from
bad
what I read-
screenshot, it's over. Sorry, yeah, Elise.
From what I read on the website, though, just like the little bits of lore sound cool. Like apparently the vampires are from like a science experiment that's gone wrong, and they are continuing to evolve into different kinds of vampires. And there's like, vampires that are tougher to beat and things like that, depending on what evolution they're at. So I'm just like, ooh, is that going to be kind of like, The Last of Us sort of thing with what they did with the zombies, where there are different types depending on what stage they are at in their evolution. That is cool. Like maybe if they go that route. Okay, Natalie is making fun of me every time.
No,
I talk.
no, not you for once. It's not you for once.
Oh, okay.
Fanbite
I
in
just
the chat is-
assume.
Fanbite in
No.
the chat is like, how do you fuck science up so bad that you make a vampire? And it's true.
Like I don't know. It's pretty bad. But I want to know more. I want to know how that happened. And yeah, the world is
Oh man,
the world is
what's going to be the
cool.
first
Depending
game
on
that like,
how much they actually expand on that lore or not. I don't know. It could be like an Overwatch thing where in the actual game itself there's very little, but we'll see.
yeah.
Ugh,
What's going to
I
be the
would hate
first
that.
game that like has a zombie outbreak because of vaccines? Because there's going to be one eventually, right?
Oh, I don't want to think about that, Imran.
Stop.
It's going to be from like some like Polish publisher.
No,
that's
I don't like
we're
this.
just asking
Can we
questions.
not
The
do
game's not really
this?
political.
I don't want to do this.
CD
I don't
Projekt
wanna
Red
do
says-
this.
Yeah, but
Nobody make this game. If you are
Don't-
listening, do not
We're
do
gonna
what
make
Imran
that
is
game.
doing.
don't make it. Yeah, but at least on your point, I really do like that element, and also just it seems like a nice fusion of science fiction elements and also fantasy. Like there's magic, there's robots as well. I like it, kind of like meshing all of that tech together to make something that is very unique. And yeah, if you're listening to the audio, please check out this trailer. The vampire zombie things are like, they got some long ass arms. They're floating and shit, like flame hair. It is very cool designs. Ren says that woman is just a wizard. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
She
wizards
looks
are
like
cool.
Great.
Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Oh,
It just and it's also just great to see this roster. Like it made me so happy to
Yeah.
see this cast of characters, to see like how wonderful her hair is animated. That's something that like companies struggle to get right.
to this day they
Yeah.
messed that up.
Here's hoping it's as good in the actual game, since it's just
Yeah.
CG.
Right.
I agree with you though. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing just like it's a really great diverse roster, and I like seeing that. Like if I'm gonna get this kind of game anyway, I might as well get one with a really cool roster of really interesting cast members. like I like the lore that they've put on the website already, like you said, Elise. I wonder how that will manifest into the actual game, but like I don't know, like the difference. Like I'm thinking about how Overwatch's lore has resonated or failed to resonate after several years, and I'm thinking
Hmm.
about Dead by Daylight. Like the lore for those characters is not in the moment-to-moment gameplay, but people eat that shit up.
Oh
Like
yeah, they
they
do.
spend
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much time working on the lore because they know that fans actually care about that lore, and it's not really present in the moment-to-moment gameplay. So I wonder
Which
what's
is
the difference
fine.
between and it's like I wonder what
Mhm.
the main difference between Overwatch and Dead by Daylight are in terms of like how they've handled the lore, even though neither series or game has the lore in the actual gameplay. And I wonder like what that crucial difference is and if this game will strike it really well
And
as
I don't
well.
think it has to be in the moment-to-moment gameplay either. Like I
Yeah.
don't need that necessarily. If this isn't going to be like a story-heavy game, but if it exists like in character bios or whether that's in entries in the actual game or otherwise, like just official lore somewhere. Like I guess for me personally, like what gets me excited about a game when I first hear about like an announcement is its world. It's am I interested in spending time in that world? And I look at this and I'm like, yeah, I want to spend time in this world. Well, even though it looks saying it like that is like I don't want to live there because it looks absolutely chaotic. But like
Yeah.
I want to experience it with friends. It looks fun.
Hmm.
Like
I
this is
hear
the
that
game that
too.
I'm like, oh, I should get an Xbox. Like I'm gonna have to get one,
You should
right?
get an
Like
Yep.
it's like
Xbox. You
like
have
the
to. We're
rest
gonna play
of
this
Oh yeah.
together.
yeah,
Which is
because
like
the
a
rest of
key
it
thing. Like they, Phil Spencer did say, like Starfield, this game is exclusive to the Xbox consoles. He is basically he's not directly said, yeah, every Bethesda game to be exclusive to Xbox, but he's basically saying that at this point, which like
Mhm.
you still get people I saw on Twitter like, does this mean Elder Scrolls is going to be exclusive too? Like, yes, it means all of this stuff will be exclusive.
Good
They are
God.
not
how
mincing
But then
many
again,
words.
that
billions of
still means you can
dollars did
play
they
on
spend?
PC. You can still
Yeah.
play PC on this. Everything that goes to Xbox goes on PC. So
Because that's the thing that
Mm.
I was gonna say. Like a lot of these, it's like available on Game Pass, and then you gotta kind of have to wait to see if by Game Pass they mean like Game Pass on the Xbox or like Game Pass on PC or both. But it's like this one, I think it's just Xbox console exclusive. So it's like, oh, there's one game that I'm really excited for, and that I'm gonna have to get an Xbox if I want to play
Yeah.
it because
And
I'm
it feels
also
like it's
looking.
trending more towards that like Xbox exclusive. So I think we might have to bite the bullet soon and get Xboxes.
I just
I've been
realized
on the
what this
PS5
trailer
lately.
actually reminds me of. It
Mm.
reminds me of the season 2 finale of Castlevania, of that big
Oh,
vampire
don't spoil
fight
me.
in the castle.
I'm just watching it right now. I'm on episode 2. Sorry.
Really, Funky, you're starting that right now.
I just
Anyway,
started. I beat the
I'm
game
never
and I'm
gonna
playing
watch
it.
it.
I
So
haven't
so
started. I
Fun Cake
haven't
they
can
Take
just
my
fight
take his
headphones off.
headphones
vampires.
off.
Big spoiler, but it's a lot like this trailer.
They
Done.
took him off.
We're good.
Okay, you can
We're
come
good,
back now.
Funky. We're good.
Oh no, we
Oh,
can't
now
hear
we can't
him.
hear you. You somehow muted
Oh,
yourself.
sorry. Yes.
Oh, you're
Yeah. No,
back.
it's a good show.
You're
I
back.
didn't want to. I don't want to miss out on. I think.
I like the
But
idea. Funky is like, I can't hear this, so he mutes his microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were just like,
I
nope, I'm out.
I gotta tap out. No, but back on the lore of the game, I play a lot of games where lore isn't like a moment to moment thing, like League of Legends and Valorant. Like there's a backlog of a lot of short stories and character logs and different comics they've made, and I think that's a tricky balance to land. And I think most people don't hit that well. Like I would honestly prefer if this was more on rails than open world, because these characters already from this short CGI trailer seem very fun, and I would love to see more of that. I hope it's not just like quips 24/7 of like, oh, this is what this character says, let's do a quip, while I'm like looting each spot, because that would like completely leave a sour taste in my mouth for a game like this. But yeah, we
what do you
don't
think of
really
the
know
name?
too much. The name.
Yeah. Because I know
It,
people thought Redfall was going to be like actually Elder Scrolls 6 because they saw the copyright before.
What's a place?
I-
Redfall, Massachusetts, apparently.
Yeah. I saw people saying they preferred the name, like, because at the end of the trailer it says "Bite Back," which I think would have been actually a pretty good name for this.
Oh, that would have been awesome. What? That's way cooler. Bite Back.
But that's also
I'm mad. That's
BB.
so much punchier.
Back for Blood also is BB. Maybe they wanted to separate themselves.
Yeah.
But Redfall kind of sounds like it's fantasy mice fighting, like Redwall.
Yeah, like I think of the. It sounds like a fantasy game, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like Dragon Age Redfall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just like
But I mean,
brain.
it is borrowing elements from fantasy as well. Like there's magic, there's different kinds of powers going on.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see how that relates to the name.
Wait, is that how
Um,
y'all say it over there in Canada? Borrowing?
What?
Because you
What
say
did you say?
Oh my god.
I can
It's
see where she
borrowed.
hears the difference, but unlike when you guys say sorry, like I don't hear it when you guys actively say it.
How do you
I
say
actually-
sorry?
Before this call, we got pants.
Sorry.
They say sorry.
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 Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
American.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Funky doesn't live here, Elise. You should at least like have like picked up enough of how we say it so
I'm
far.
still Canadian. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
There you go.
I don't
You-
just move
correct.
here.
That was
to
fine.
American.
Pride.
Borrowing.
I do.
Um,
I have actually kind of picked up on it though. I switched between the two, and then I went back home, and I was just like, "Oh wow, my dad says it's like sorry, weird."
Yeah.
That was.
You said it the
I don't know.
American
I was
way
like,
now.
"Oh no, what happened to me?" I like I said, I flipped between the two,
True,
but I always
true.
say pasta.
Yeah, Pasta's the one I'll just be like, I will also make fun of that if Natalie does not get to it first. Which she did.
I always get there first. Yeah. Also, what's that game from Ubisoft that they announced? What is it like? Mario?
And Rasmus.
What was the
Don't make
name?
me say that. Don't make me say that.
Yeah, let's move on from pasta and talk about Plagues. Plague Tale sequel. I know we don't have to stay on this for too long. But yeah, there was a pool of rats that reminded me so much of that like blood elevator scene in The Shining, like swooshing down and stuff. Very interesting
Yeah.
trailer that made me want to check out the original Plague Tale.
You should.
I mean, it's disgusting to see rats move with such unison and such like such a massive volume
Absolutely
of them running
disgusting
at you.
trailer.
It's gross. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious about this world now, and like Natalie said about a previous trailer, like if a game is getting me interested in even playing the first one, that's exciting. So I can kind of like get prepared for the next one. But have y'all
You
played
know what?
Plague Tale at all, or
Yeah, it is
I
on
loved
Game
it.
Pass. You should
Okay.
play it.
okay?
Yeah.
I
I'm gonna
watched
look at
it.
It is
Which
very
sounds like fun.
heart wrenching, honestly. Like it's a
Okay.
surprisingly emotional game.
It starts off like already, like from the first like 10 minutes, it's heart wrenching.
Yes.
But it's really good. It's really good. And I really like the characters. It's like a sister and a little brother. And the rats too are just like, I mean, you guys, the Shining reference is actually a really good reference because like the blood, it's very overwhelming and they can just kind of overtake you at a moment's
Yes.
notice. And
This is a sequel.
it's good.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the rat wave is like an enemy you have to
Yes.
fight, or
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Shockingly
the
funky in a
rats
game
are-
called
the
A
rats
Plague
are
Tale.
tough.
they're
That's
a
gross.
prominent enemy that like swarms you like flies.
Mhm.
So
But like
Like
worse. Because
rats.
it's like a tsunami of them.
And they
Yeah.
squeak while they're doing it, and it's real gross.
You know
the
what I said
music
about
is
checking out
also
this
really
game?
good.
Yeah. Like
I
I know we're
watched
trying to
it.
not
I'll say
sell
that.
you on this game, Funky, but like it's a good
Yeah.
game and you should play it. It's very heartfelt, very well written. Like it's also it was really gorgeous. I'm very eager to see like what a sequel on Series X looks like.
Hmm. What would you guys like to see in a sequel of this?
That's a good question because I never really thought about having it be a sequel.
It was very self-contained, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't. It's one of those games where I'm like, this doesn't really need a sequel. So I was surprised to see this announced today. I mean, the thing with Focus Home Interactive especially is their games can be really good but really rough around the edges. And I would say that that's absolutely the case for the first game too. Like it's a good game, but it could control better. It could be more fluid. Like it could just run better. So I think I'm hoping the sequel kind of checks those boxes for me.
Perfect. We don't have too much time left on this nightly podcast, so I'm kind of going to go through a few things that really stood out to all of us during these conferences, and just do some quick thoughts. Next one is Replaced, which was also at Xbox and Bethesda. This game is my shit. I love the 2.5 design of it, where you can see buildings or billboards in the background and people like wading through a wasteland in the foreground while your character's kind of just like making their way through the middle. We don't know too much about it, but it's a platformer, and the camera emits like a very cool handheld feeling at points and does some like Dutch tilting while they're fighting that just makes me hype. Like this game is very stylistically tight, and I just want to see more of it. This is the first time I've seen it.
Did you get a Katana Zero vibe from it too? Because I did.
I did! Like when he was jumping outside the motel, which one of my favorite games, Katana Zero. Play that shit if you have not played that shit.
So good.
Aces.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
Yeah, like the thing that was
this.
cool about Katana Zero, though, it had that like very distinct gameplay mechanic of like rewinding time. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if there's something similar here, because like the combat just felt so good. Like it felt good. Yes. The combat felt like little puzzles with every level that you would go to. So here, when I'm looking at this new game, it's just like, okay, it looks cool, but that's all that is so far. Is like it stylistically reminds me of Katana Zero, but I don't know much beyond that.
Yeah, it seems to be like, I mean, we don't have too much, but I know there's a robot. I was reading a little write-up on this, but the protagonist is like a robot or something in this futuristic post-apocalyptic world. They could do a lot with that, so I'm excited. And this was just a teaser. Yeah.
So it's Blade Runner. Like that's what this is.
Yes, heavy Blade Runner vibes. Yes.
It does.
I think not as far into the future, at least from what I've seen here. It looks like, I don't know, closer to our society than Blade Runner's, but yeah, that's a touchstone. Definitely looks like. Moving on, we got Psychonauts 2, which is the sequel to. Sorry, my cat is jumping up on my bed. Hello. The sequel to 2005's Psychonauts. It's dropping this August. I haven't played it, but I know many folks, including Fanbyte's own Daniel Riendeau, are quite excited about it. Will y'all be checking this out?
Oh my god. I have been so excited about Psychonauts 2. So like this has been an anticipated game for me for like years. And
it's been 16 years since the original,
So I did a demo a few years ago with Tim Schafer on this game, and he's playing a level that was like a dental horror level where like teeth were coming out of things.
That's what I saw
and like
too. I saw the same demo.
There's a part of that demo where like teeth, there's 2 rows of teeth like you would see in a mouth, and Tim Schafer goes, "Don't worry, nothing bad's gonna happen here." And the mouth opens vertically and like makes a weird, gross creaking sound, and he just starts laughing. He's like, "Man, that's fucked up." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's basically what I'm expecting from the rest of this game. It's just that's really fucked up."
Oh no!
Yeah,
so it's a lot of body horror, or oh, sorry, go ahead, Elise.
I don't know about body horror, but like it's. The thing about Psychonauts is it's mind-bending. Like that's the best thing about the first game was just how freaking weird those levels were. Like, do you remember the Milkman section?
Yeah.
Imran, by any chance, like it's hard to even articulate it, but it's just a bunch of super weird stuff over and over again. Like there's another. It's been a long time since I played, but there's one where I think. It's just like underwater, and I think you play as the giant fish, or you're inside a giant fish, I think.
Yeah.
And anyway, there's just like it's one thing to the next. It's just you really can never expect where it's going to take you. And I see that kind of really interesting level design is coming back. And also, it's such a weird world. Raz is this kid who goes to summer camp for psychics. That's the first game. And he's now graduated from summer camp.
Congrats.
And he's basically joining the kind of like FBI sort of psychic level, and he's an intern. But yeah, I don't know. It's all just really funny stuff. Tim Schafer, I have played all his games for a long time now. Grim Fandango, and it's just like with every single one, it's just I'm always there for it. It's super funny, and it's my thing. I dig it.
Yeah.
Do you recommend folks check out the first? Yeah, August.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a necessary game to play in order to understand what's going on in the second. I don't know.
I'd argue maybe Psychonauts 1 hasn't aged super well. Like, maybe play a little bit, but...
It hasn't. I did go back to it like a year and a half ago, I want to say. And yes, it does not... the controls are not great, to say the least. But the story is really good. If anything, watch a Let's Play or something.
Got you. Okay, moving on from this. Vroom, 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 irks. I can't drive, but boy, does Forza Horizon look cool. I like how they're leaning into some very goofy things with this game. Like at the end of the trailer for that, they showed bowling with trucks and trampolines with cars. Like that's some fun stuff, and we definitely need more of that. Are y'all ready to race? I have to ask.
I'm down for this game.
I've never played a racing game in my life, and I never will.
I'm not gonna
but
play
I just
this.
think, but I just think it's so fucking funny that the racing car game is doing better about Latin representation than Far Cry 6. I just think it's really funny.
Let them know.
Crucially, Natalie, they got actual Mexican people to voice act in their game in Mexico.
Right. That's certainly an important thing to get right.
Interesting choice to
make. It would
make.
be very sad if you casted someone who wasn't Latin for a role like Giancarlo Esposito or something, and
just a random
but I don't know.
that's
just me. That's
super
just me,
strange. I put Far Cry 6 on this and then I took it off because we've seen that game too much, I think, already. Yeah, but any more car thoughts before we vroom on?
I think this game looks good. I'll play it. It's cool to finally see what Series X games look like, because I don't think we've actually really seen that yet so far, from Microsoft at least.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this trailer is really funny too, because like the cars are like there's a little personification going on, because they're like main characters in this trailer, and like there's like close-ups on them. And, like, I just think it's really funny.
I love hearing people who know how a car works talk about games like this, because I'm like, oh wow, like I was talking to I think Nikki and Paul, and I was talking about like the car fins or whatever, the gills that they pushed up, and they're like, oh yeah, that's good for the pull. Like when you're driving, like that's good for
playing this game. They're like, oh well, this engine's gonna be a little bit better for driving off road, but this one I think is gonna have like much better traction when going uphill. And I'm like, this car's blue. I like blue.
Yeah. Does this one have the juice that makes it go fast? Like, I need to know that.
It goes new. Car goes new.
It does go new. You know what else goes new? Master Chief. When he flies down from the sky and crashes onto any planet he goes onto. That's right, folks. We saw more Halo today. We finally got to see the full title, which is Halo Infinite. Finish the fight for real this time. We promise it'll be over after this one. Brackets. I know we've said this before. Brackets. Yeah, we saw a little bit of single player gameplay of everyone's favorite Spartan throwing a bunch of space carcasses and talking to a little robot that told us that Cortana is dead. We also saw a whole bunch of multiplayer stuff, which looks great and is free to play on Xbox and PC, which was surprising to me. I don't know if that was information was out there before, but
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was just shocked that it's like actually happening and looks that pretty. I don't know. I think that's going to do wonders for that one. Are y'all into the Halo? Halo Zone?
No.
I kind of noticed that they didn't show campaign footage because like we still haven't seen that since that initial showing where they had to like delay the game right after. So again, maybe they're just like very cautious about that game now. They did show a cutscene, and they did say, Master Chief did put another AI in his head because he doesn't learn any lessons at all. He is that guy that like you see make the same relationship mistakes over and over and over again. You're like, bro, just come on, you know exactly what's happening. You got to stop, but he's not stopping. So like,
it'll be different this time. It's a different robot.
she understands me for real.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I saw the grappling hook in action. I was like, okay, you got me. I'm a sucker for Halo, so I'm probably gonna play this with some friends because the campaigns just really hit. Especially on Legendary, just getting blasted all the time and being like, okay, how do I actually move through these stages? Yeah, it looks nice. There was no Craig in this one, who I think a lot of people wanted to see, but he's not. He's dead or something. We don't know. And this is also going to be one of the games that is going on Game Pass at launch, which another colossal
everything
hit.
Microsoft will go Game Pass day one, which is like they're also seemingly making deals with a bunch of third parties to also put games on Game Pass day one. So like this entire show was like, if you're subscribed to Game Pass, holy shit, this is Christmas. You're looking at a bunch of games over the next 6 months to a year that are just going to be immediately loaded onto your system.
Yeah, we should talk a bit about the Game Pass takeover before we leave, but it is already like a very, very good bang for your buck for like the regular consumer to pay that. I think the first thing is only like $1 a month to just get onto it. But yeah, with all of the titles they're adding, it doesn't really make sense to play Xbox games without having Game Pass. It seems like going on to the future. How do y'all feel about Game Pass as a concept?
I think it's great. I mean,
I think it's fantastic.
It's one of the best bets we've seen for Microsoft in a long time, I think, and it's paying off. It's basically the Netflix of games. Yeah, I mean, I see no reason to not get Game Pass. It's just
I think
it's full of great games and it's growing.
Yeah, I think without Game Pass, this conference honestly might have been like kind of a bust. But like they did a very good job of like saying, hey, we're not so concerned. Like in a different year, like let's say an alternate universe, Sony is also at this conference. They would be like, well, where's Microsoft's God of War? But they don't have to show their God of War because what they're showing is like we've got a pretty diverse lineup, and like any day you come log onto your Xbox and check out Game Pass, you're gonna have something different to play, and that's a incredibly compelling argument.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, the great thing is it's a great way to try games out, because you can be like, oh, I don't want to spend money on this because I'm not sure how it is. Like you can, if you are a Game Pass subscriber, you can just log on, download it, see, and there's no loss if you don't like it. That's what
like
I especially like about it.
Fuzzy Animals, like
especially if I'm thinking of buying something on another platform, it's almost like my trial period thing where I'm just like, let me at least check it out on Game Pass. If I like it, then I'll get it on PC, kind of thing.
Yeah, like this thing we're watching right now, that like Ren showing, like this Fuzzy Animals game, that just looks like a straight up rip off of Gang Beast. But also, who cares? It's on Game Pass. I'll either download it or I won't.
Yeah,
Right.
That's the argument.
Definitely.
It's on Game Pass, so why not?
I think the one thing I'm worried about is that Netflixification of it, because you did say it's like Netflix, and that's true, but Netflix also got people off of like physical copies and got people more onto the streaming, and then they raised their prices like slowly, intermittently over years. Like they got to a price where right now when I look at Netflix price, I'm like, you make me paying that much for movies? These movies aren't even that good. Like I don't know. Like I just don't want to see Game Pass go down that route.
Netflix.
Yeah, but the issue with
it's not as good as it was.
Yeah.
There's more now. There's like so many streaming platforms. You got Disney Plus and Hulu and everything. You don't need Netflix anymore, and for a lot of people there's not enough compelling content still on Netflix, or at least that's only exclusive to Netflix. But
it's inevitable that'll
I
happen with Microsoft. Like at some point Game Pass will have competitors. It'll also be just like probably be too expensive for Microsoft to maintain the way they do now. But like right now it's working out pretty well for like both them and consumers. So like honestly, the trailer that we're looking at right now reminded me Yakuza 7's on that thing now. Yakuza 7 came out late last year. It's crazy that like that game is just now, if you have Game Pass, you can just play what is a very good RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Natalie, do you have any feels on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Game Pass has ultimately really changed my opinion on Xbox overall. I think other factors contribute to this, obviously, but for me, Game Pass is just like I keep thinking about it. It's not just like because a lot of the times we talk about like impact over numbers and the importance of impact, and not just like reducing everything to numbers, but this has so much impact as well. Like I'm thinking about how like the kids of today have this and are able to play games with a freedom that I didn't have and that none of us really had before this. Like we had Blockbuster, and that was a great way for a lot of especially low income kids to get into video games. Like that is why I was able to get into video games. But this is even better than Blockbuster was, and so I'm just kind of it's impossible to measure this kind of thing, even if there were dedicated, case studies and all that. But like, just thinking about how Game Pass is really just making gaming so accessible for so many kids that might not otherwise be able to play video games or like play them consistently and reliably. I think that's amazing, and we can't measure how that's going to impact the industry, but we're going to see a lot more different people from all walks of life, especially from low income backgrounds, coming into the industry, creating games, working in the workforce, and just playing a part in the video games that we're going to see in the future. And I think that is the most exciting thing out of anything. But everything else about Game Pass is exciting on its own. So I mean, it's great, and I do wonder because like for sure there's going to be competitors, but I do wonder like Microsoft's resources are kind of it's hard to match up to them. So I wonder how those competitors
They
will
have a lot of money.
shape up.
Yeah,
It'll be. I
it's
think
worth
they'll
noting that like
come later.
But by the data, it seems like Game Pass is actually like helping sales of games. Things that are about to leave
Yes.
Game Pass tend to sell better than they do in like usually normal
Especially
sales
indie
for games.
developers. Like
Yeah.
that's actual access. Like when we're talking about accessibility
Seriously.
and all the importance, like that is real access. That's getting indie developers, to get the attention that they might not otherwise have. That's getting again low income kids and people from all ages playing these video games. And
It is a
I just
super
think it's
accessible
so
price
cool.
point, as well.
Yeah.
And there's so many titles on there. I want to talk about a couple more games before we wrap up. One last one from the Xbox show, Atomic Heart. Let's go! This one, probably my favorite one of the show. But you could literally
wow.
put,
How come?
you
How
could
come,
literally put.
Funke?
Well, I will get to it right now. You could literally put
Okay.
Russian pop over any game, and I would love that shit. First of all, I'll get that out of the way. But this has all of the elements of a BioShock, but it isn't trapped in Rapture or Columbia or BioShock's flawed writing issues, like the traps the pitfalls they get themselves into. So it has the ability to tell a really cool story in a completely different world. And yeah, the powers look tantalizing. The like dystopian surrealist enemies are sick as hell. I just can't wait to see more about what this game is about, because I remember seeing a bit about it like was it a year or two ago, and very little, but like even this teaser I was like, oh, I want to see more.
Yeah, this was my introduction to Atomic Heart, and as the introduction, I feel like it was kind of hard to follow. I was like, I don't exactly know what's happening in this trailer. There was a lot going on at once. But I will say the soundtrack sounded cool. The powers seemed cool. But I did feel like I was like, whoa, there's so much going on and it's so fast. I did like the grandma with the ladle though. I want to know more about her. What's her deal?
She's
But,
chill.
So, like,
I also
I-
felt
I-
the same. Like I didn't know what was going on, but that lady with the short hair, she's hot. That's all that I care about. Okay, you can go, Imran.
I
I thought you were going to
figured
call
this
the
game
grandma
title
hot first.
Elise.
I heard this game's name and I was like, this sounds really familiar. So I went and actually looked it up, and it was like a couple of years ago, there was a lot of stuff. There was like a Russian Telegram newspaper that was like, yeah, this game's in a lot of trouble. Like, this is in development hell. Like, nothing is going right. A lot of what they're showing is not actually what's in this game. So I kind of wonder, like, did Microsoft take this on and set them straight? Or are they still like, is this going to end up like a Bright Memory kind of thing where like it's a big centerpiece for Xbox, but then the actual game isn't like what people expected?
Oh, no.
So
That
I don't want to burst
sounds
anyone's bubble, but I'm hoping that it's better than what was reported a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Nobody
But yeah,
burst
hopefully.
Okay,
bubble as
stay.
burst bubble.
Ow!
Look, I was so excited. What did you do?
It could be great still. It just I had to like I knew it sounded familiar and I looked it up. I was like, oh, this hopefully this trailer is indicative of a new direction.
I would
chat for Funke.
please send all your Fs in the live Twitch chat. But yeah, I mean, I would love to know if there's issues about something so I can kind of slow down my expectations. But yeah, right now I'm just excited because yeah, I think a summer ago I played through all of the games and did a limited run podcast with Ty from Uppercut Crit. Shout out Ty. But yeah, just the type of game that BioShock is like. I don't know. I feel like I don't really see too many games go down that path. So like this seems very, very close to it. And I just want to see what they do with it, especially in a completely different world that doesn't seem trapped in the American, like capitalism is bad, but then not really talking about capitalism or anything really, just like using the aesthetics of it. This is completely free of that. So yeah, I'm hyped to see that in action.
But Funke, both sides are bad. I'm very smart.
Both sides are bad. Yes, that is a great point. Shout out BioShock, snapping my fingers. But yeah, that was Xbox Bethesda show was pretty fire. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I enjoyed it a lot out of the conferences I saw.
It was very good.
It was a tight one.
It was very
Yeah.
good.
It's the best
Lots
one.
I think
of
it's
stuff
probably-
I'm excited about.
Yeah, it's probably the best show we've seen so far.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Now from the future game show, the last game we're going to be talking about for today, Immortality, a new game from Sam Barlow and Half Mermaid Studios. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Really short
So
teaser, but
excited.
looks interesting. And I've heard this game teased for a while.
It's
is
such
this
a
another,
short
like-
teaser,
but all of us
teaser.
put it in there.
It works. Sorry.
So
yeah,
is it-
like
is it
short
like
teaser,
a-
but all of us put it in the doc.
Is it like a what do you call it? Another FMV, like the same thing he's been
Probably.
making for the last couple of games.
Or
Okay.
actually, I don't
I
know
mean-
if that's confirmed. I don't know if that's confirmed, but
Not confirmed,
I hope
but
so. It's supposed to
given
be
like what his style is, you know.
Sam Barlow, of course, like he did with Telling of Lies, once again said it's going to be even more ambitious. And to be fair, Telling Lies was way more ambitious than her story was. Like
I understand
I don't know. Have we
that's-
all played? I don't know if we've all played Telling Lies, but it's,
I have, yeah.
I only played
Like-
her story.
I
haven't
get that's his
finished
thing
Hollow.
now, but like I really like Shattered Memories, and I wish he'd make another game like that.
What was Shattered Memories again? I can't remember.
The Silent Hill game.
That
It
sounds
was the
familiar.
it was the Wii Silent Hill game where
wow.
like
Yes,
it had
yes,
like a very good plot twist, and also like everything you looked at in the game like factored into the story in some way. So like if you were staring too
I
long at like
remember.
yeah
that was a good
poster
game.
like lewd posters, the game would start treating Sam as like a lech or a lecher.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is wild.
or not Sam, sorry, Harry.
Yeah.
my gosh.
I mean, Sam is. Sam. I love his work. Like
Yeah,
pretty much everything
like his
he
work
touches.
a lot.
Like I will play it. But I especially like the FMV style. So I hope that's the same kind of thing here. It does seem like a kind of Hollywood mystery of this. Basically, this movie maker goes
Yeah, like
missing. is
noir
what
vibes.
we're told.
Uh,
Yeah. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to go off of, but from her story and Telling Lies especially, if I'm getting more of that, I am going to be very happy.
Yes. Okay, folks. E3 Day 2 is wrapped.
Day
We
dose.
made it. Day dose, sorry.
We did it. Oh,
Night-
wow.
night
How did we
dose.
do it?
We're here. Yeah, I just before we wrap, I want to know what are we feeling about E3 so far? What are we looking forward to over the next couple of days? Any standouts, or are we kind of just cruising along, hoping to see something exciting?
I think so far this thing has kind of sucked. Honestly, had they not had an E3 this year, it would have been totally fine. Like I'm kind of just hoping for Nintendo to like not really knock my socks off, but at least be nice and pleasant.
Please. Yeah. Elise? Anything?
I wonder if we'll see more Breath of the Wild 2 at Nintendo. But
Fingers
I don't know,
crossed.
honestly.
Yeah, I
don't
remember
know.
at the last.
I'm fine. I'm also fine with them not knocking my socks off.
Natalie?
Yeah, it's been kind of sucky. Microsoft was fun. Square Enix sucks. Nintendo will be nice, but like, I'm not like super huge on Nintendo's like main IPs, so it'll be nice to watch and like it'll be pleasant and it won't be harmful, but it also won't wow me. Yeah, this year has kind of been a bust, and it's been unnecessarily complicated. Also, I totally keep forgetting and remembering that the E3 exhibitor hall is a thing. Like, I
What
keep
is that?
getting like,
What?
yeah, yeah, I forgot.
Is that the thing we signed up for and we got the passes for? Like,
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't done anything with
like,
that.
Nobody
I've like
has.
not gone back to that portal. honestly.
Nobody
I made my-
has.
I
It's
don't
just
need
so
it.
funny.
I made my character and left pretty much, but
So-
I'll try to check that
Yeah.
out again, see if there's anything interesting. But I feel that same energy, folks. Like, it's been very busy, but also not as exciting. I don't know, just feel like a very quarantine-ass E3, and they could have, I don't know, spaced it out or done reveals on their own time that were a bit more exciting, maybe. But yeah, I feel like these companies had the pressure to throw conferences and press conferences like during this time because it's such a thing that people do of tradition like around this time. But you know, we can adapt and do things differently, TBH. But hopefully, yeah, Nintendo picks it up, and I have the highest hopes for Nintendo. I know they're not going to satisfy that for me, but you know what? I'll be there on stream. You can check that out, along with all of our other Hot Game Summer coverage for the rest of this week, and I think pretty much next week too, because the stuff is still trickling in through then. But I wanted to say thank you to all of y'all on call for talking through on this night dose. Shout out Imran, shout out Natalie, shout out Elise. Yeah, are y'all? Yeah. Also, shout out to our two producers on this one, Paul and Ren. Legends. Like, I thank you so much for making this run so smooth.
Such good stuff.
Very great time. Yeah, folks.
And thank you to the
stay tuned.
chat for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very nice to see all y'all
Thanks for
talking
chilling.
and having fun time. It is
Funke,
a good
where
chill.
can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, the Hell site at Funkefly, FUNKEFLY. I think we have tags for everyone in chat to get everyone's Twitters as well. But what
Actually,
what is
mine's
your Twitter?
different now? Mine is chaos
No way.
at chaos.chaos.
Okay, follow Imran. Natalie, what's your Twitter?
Hardy Misa, Heart IMECIA on Twitter.
Perfect. And Elise, what's your Twitter?
At Elise Favis, which is just my full name, ELISEFAVIS.
Hell yeah. Folks, we're wrapping down, but yeah, thank you again for chilling. This was an awesome time, and good to just like talk about E3 and kind of feel a bit removed from it because it feels like it's always going on 24/7, but this felt like a good kind of wrap up. It was good for my mind to kind of just take a chill talk with y'all. Yeah, folks, stay tuned for the rest of our coverage for all throughout the next weeks, and have a good night.